Let's move right on over to this Elon Musk story. So Elon Musk offers to buy Twitter for $43 billion. Says it's the best and final offer. Best and final offer. I really like how he's just going straight out with it. Last week, Elon Musk became Twitter's largest shareholder. The Tesla and SpaceX CEO was going to join Twitter's board, then he wasn't. Now, the world's richest person is offering to buy the entire company for $43 billion in cash, according to regulatory filing dated Wednesday. I made an offer, Musk tweeted to his 81 million followers. Jesus, 81 million, good lord. I mean, I love you, Musk, but geez, 81 million, that's a lot. Musk said he believes in the promise of Twitter to be a platform for free speech, but does not have confidence in the management to fulfill that mission and thinks it needs to be transformed as a private company. Twitter has extraordinary potential. I will unlock it. You know, I love people like this. I love doers, right? People who, they don't just talk like I'm doing admittedly now, but who actually just get out there and actually follow through with what they want to do. They don't go, I wish I could do this. No, he just does it, right? I'm tired of people who sit there and say, I would like to do this. I would like to. Just do it, man. Just do it. I'm right now trying to, not sure if you can see it back there, but I'm right now trying to learn guitar. I mean, I've always wanted to learn it my entire life, and I never have till just recently, and it's going to take me a long time to get the hang of it, but I'm just going to do it, right? I'm just going to jump into it. I'm going to work as hard as I can and go from there. I love when people just say, you know what? I think it should be this. I will be the one to unlock it. I will be the one to actually bring Twitter to its full potential. I mean, that's a really bold and ballsy statement, and I absolutely love it. My offer is the best and final offer. If it is not accepted, I would need to reconsider my position as a shareholder, Musk continues. He holds more than 9% of Twitter shares, and some experts say if he were to sell his stakes, that could trigger a sharp sell-off. Man, it would. It would become a meme to sell stocks. It would become or not in general, just to sell Twitter. Anyone who has any stocks in Twitter who has all aligned with Elon will all say, yeah, screw it. He's obviously the best man for the job. Let's just, if they aren't going to go with him, just sell. Just sell, 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 sell. It would be a massive sell-off. Not to mention, I mean, 9%. Even if he's selling at a loss, the idea that that amount would get sold that quickly like that, that really does cause a cascading effect, even if you're not doing it for the meme, right? A lot of these people have triggers as to when things are going to sell and when things are going to buy. And a lot of them have like a stop loss, right? Where if it goes below a certain amount, it will immediately sell just to cut their losses. And I'm telling you, if he sells more than 9%, if he sells all 9%, it's going to trigger that for a lot of people who have investments in Twitter, which would be hysterical to see. And it wouldn't be the wrong move, right? I mean, here's the deal. Twitter is failing as a platform, right? Twitter was failing before Trump, and now that they banned Trump, as well as anyone who's actually interesting, they're failing again. And I'll also say this. I, for one, have been one saying that we probably do need some more regulations in place for social media. I do think, for the most part, even though, again, that's why I say I am very small L libertarian, even if that, right? I'm more of a constitutional conservative, I guess. I'm not sure exactly how I'd place myself, but I want as much freedom as it can be for private businesses. But at the same time, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, as far as I can tell, they become the new public square. And with new technology, I think new regulations are appropriate in that regard, as long as the regulations are done in a way to secure more freedoms for the people and not suppress the freedoms of people, right? That's kind of the big issue right there. It can't be suppressed, but to ensure our freedoms, I think there's a place for it. But I've been told constantly by a lot of my friends who are very hardcore libertarians, saying the market will correct itself. The market will correct itself. And credit where credit's due. This seems to be a case where the market is correcting itself. Elon is he's a private citizen coming in here, possibly changing the entire environment around big tech. And that's amazing. That's great. That's awesome to see. Now, I think there is some weirdness about the fact of we do kind of just have oligarchs when it comes to big tech. It's just that in this instance, the oligarch who will be above us will be one who's more benevolent than the others, right? I still kind of have a somewhat of an issue with it. But again, to my hardcore libertarian friends out there, it so far seems like y'all are probably right. It looks like the market's starting to have a hard correction here, where the pendulum's swaying this way too far, and now it's about to swing clear the other way to where it's full new ownership. Not just them making small changes, but possibly Musk taking full control and making a wide sweeping amount of changes all at one time. And listen, results are results. I'll celebrate it either way. Though I still think we might need some regulations on big tech, especially for Google and, well, YouTube here. Twitter confirmed it received the unsolicited offer from Musk and has said the board will carefully review the proposal and determine a course of action that it believes is in the best interest of the company and all Twitter stockholders. Musk offered over 54... Of course, it's a 420 at the end, isn't it? $54.20 per share, which is 38% more than the value of the Twitter stock the day before his investment was made public, and 18% higher than Wednesday's closing price. It would be utterly indefensible not to put this offer to the shareholder vote, Musk tweeted on Thursday afternoon. They own the company, not the board of directors. Now, real quick, for those of you who might not really get into a lot of things involving business, I worked in the corporate world for most of my life, to be perfectly honest, as well as I worked for a lot of nonprofits in the political world as well. When it comes to shareholders and when it comes to the board of directors, though they run the company on behalf of the shareholders, who are the true owners. So think of it this way. Think if you owned a company and you hired a manager to take control of all basically day-to-day activities going on through your establishment. It's not that much different than what's going on here, except for shareholders. There's obviously hundreds of them, and they're all the boss. And because of that, they all vote and can actually take people off the board of directors, put people on the board of directors. And those board of directors' jobs are simply to represent the shareholders and the management of the company. That is all. They're just taking care of the asset that is in the shareholders' ownership. The board of directors, though they can own a certain amount, obviously, someone who does own a company can be on the board of directors. But in cases like this, where it is a fully public company, the board of directors in this case do not own the company. Other people, everyone who's invested, if you have one share in Twitter, you are an owner of Twitter. You own one share. You are one of the owners who gets a say when it comes to what Twitter does to a certain degree. What the directors do is they just try to best represent you as the shareholder, as well as all the other shareholders in the system, to make sure, of course, y'all receive profits from the business itself. You know, they barely actually even really represent either the workers or the business. They more just represent you, right? They have to act in your best interest because that is their job. Their job is simply you've delegated that work to them to take care of and manage your company, right? Your company, not theirs, your company. So because of that, if they act outside of the interest of the shareholders, they now are held responsible. And there's some legal repercussions for that as well. So, or there can be legal repercussions for that as well. So Elon making this statement saying that, you know, it needs to go to a vote for the shareholders. I mean, it's not a threat, but it's a smart thing to tweet out for everyone to see. Twitter stock closed down 1.35% on Thursday, well below Musk's offer price, however, suggesting investors may be skeptical of the billionaire's bid. Sure, they're skeptical. Prince Alwaleed bin Talal of Saudi Arabia, a longtime Twitter shareholder, tweeted on Thursday Musk's offer doesn't come close to the company's intrinsic value. And he said he would reject it. Musk responded on Twitter by asking him, what are the kingdom's views on journalistic freedom of speech? And so here's the interesting thing. There's people at Twitter who were caught spying on people through Twitter for the Saudi Arabia government. Right? That happened. This person works within Saudi Arabia. Do they want Twitter to operate on a value system that's based among our values or their values. If Twitter's going to be operating within the United States of America, this is why I'm actually more in favor of regulating certain social media companies when they hit a certain level, because I think they become part of the public square at that point. But if you have all these investors who are from outside the country, as of course you're allowed to do, what value system is then in place in those businesses? So you have this person from Saudi Arabia who's not wrong when he says the value of Twitter is much higher than the asking price. The reality is the real value of Twitter is political control. They were able to stop. They were able to censor a truthful story about Biden and Hunter Biden's laptop, which we now know to be factual. They censored it days before the election. And of course, it's after the election that people go, oh, well, it turns out that was right. So, sorry, our bad. More of the fortifying of the election, of course. So, I don't know how much Elon Musk really cares about freedom of speech, but he's paying lip service, and I appreciate it. And calling these people out is a good step for this, right? That is a solid step. It's great to see. How much of Twitter does Kingdom own directly and indirectly? So Kingdom, mind you, I believe is the name of their name of the company. I don't know if that's directly associated with the Saudi Arabia government. I'm not sure on that one, but yeah, how much does it own directly, and what are the views on journalistic freedom of speech? That's just going right for it. But Musk's approach may open the door for other interested buyers who have their own design on Twitter, said Scott Kessler, analysis at a research firm Third Bridge. This is really perhaps the beginning of a process, and it's not necessarily going to start and end with Elon Musk. BS. It will start and end with Elon, whether it go through or not go through. No one else is going to buy Twitter to that extent. There isn't anyone, for one, who's even wealthy enough to probably be able to throw around that sort of money in the first place. He will be your best bid. Now you can turn it down or you can accept it. Now that it's all up in the air still. However, to say that, oh, this is the beginning of a process and other people are interested in it, it's like when you go buy a house and they go, well, this is a very popular area. We have other people who are coming to look at this house just tomorrow. Tomorrow will be 2 more families coming to look at it. And then next week I got about 5 people booked to look at this house. BS. They don't got anyone to look at the house. Don't feel pressured. Bide your time. Get the best price. Elon's being very just straightforward. This is my highest price I'm going to go. This is what I'm going to offer. We're not playing games. I'm buying this company. It is so fun to watch. I am loving that. As someone who really likes just the corporate world, I don't really like the corporate world. I despise the corporate world, which is why I love when I see just stuff like this happen to it, right? I despise the corporate world, so because of it, I love watching it crumble. I love watching them squirm. It's so great to see. You saw that, of course, with the meme stocks, when you saw companies like Citadel start freaking the hell out, and you're still seeing them freak out. They're just, man, oh boy, that's a whole nother discussion for another day. But this sort of stuff, I love watching it happen. It cannot happen to better people, I'll say that. It'd be hard for any other bidders or consortium to engage or to emerge, and the Twitter board will be forced to likely accept this bid and or run an active process to sell Twitter, I've said. It's so great to see. So great to see. The takeover bid is the latest and twist in a wild 2 weeks for the billionaire on social media platform. On April 4th, Musk disclosed he'd been buying up Twitter shares and has become the largest individual shareholder. Earlier this week, Twitter shareholder filed a security fraud lawsuit against Musk, alleging his late disclosure of his stake cost investors money and saved Musk around $143 million. So again, they're trying to pull out all the stops. They really are. The Tesla CEO is both a prolific user of Twitter and a vocal critic, so his investment immediately sparked questions about his intentions. And the weeks before his stake became public, he had publicly questioned Twitter's commitment to free speech and mused about creating his own rival social network. Well, why create a rival when you can just buy them up? Why destroy your competition when you can just buy them? Makes more sense. And a lot less stressful, actually. The next day, Twitter CEO Parag Agrawal announced Musk must join the company's would join the company's board, and had agreed to limit how much more Tesla or Twitter stock he could buy. Both men said they look forward to working together on the company's future, but those plans quickly fell apart over the weekend. Musk notified Twitter he would not join the board after all. The decision that Agrawal described as for the best. So here's the deal: when you're on the board, you're limited on how or when you can buy stocks, as well as how many you can buy at one time. This seems to be more of a way to make sure that he couldn't have any more control over Twitter. And I think when he realized that how little impact him being on the board would really have, Musk probably just stepped aside. He probably thought first, hey, I'll get on the board, introduce a couple of changes because I know it works, obviously. And because they're businessmen, they'll listen to me and probably want to change for the better. They definitely do not. Paraj Agrawal has consistently said that their values on what allowable speech is not in line with the First Amendment. He keeps saying that they're a worldwide network and must be held to a worldwide standard, not a United States standard. But the reality is, the only right standard is the United States standard. No other country on the face of the planet has a better standard when it comes to freedom of speech than we do, because no other country on the face of the planet has freedom of speech. You can be arrested for making certain comments in Canada, and the UK, and Scotland, and Ireland, and France, and Germany, and of course Russia, and of course China, and Japan, and Korea. It doesn't matter where you go on this planet other than the United States. If you say something the government does not like, they will arrest you. The CEO of Twitter wants to abide by their standard, not the United States standard. So it doesn't surprise me at all that Musk sees what's happening on the board, and goes, screw it, I'm going to buy it all myself. So before his about face became public on Sunday night, Musk has spent much of the weekend tweeting suggestions, criticism, and jokes about Twitter. Is Twitter dying? He asked in one tweet, knowing that many of his most followed users, such as Barack Obama and Katy Perry, rarely tweet. And that is a very important factor here. People, the most popular people on Twitter don't tweet anymore. Twitter's become nothing more than an area for them. About 80% of leftists to just yell at each other about different things and hold each other, try to these ridiculous standards, and for the 20% of Republicans to sit there and go, hey, let's tell a joke, ban. Hey, look at this story, ban. Hey, maybe we should talk about this, ban. That's what Republicans have gone through. So you've lost almost half of your initial audience, because you've lost more than half, actually. You've lost a huge portion of your audience, not just because of the people you ban, but because why would I go to Twitter if I can't follow the president? Why would I go to Twitter if I can't follow my favorite creators? Why would I not go to Twitter, or why would I go to Twitter if I can't follow people like, I don't know, Sargon of Akkad, right? I mean, he's removed on there, I think. And why would I go on Twitter if I can't follow, even though Ben Shapiro is still there, how much longer? Matt Walsh, how much longer? Why would I go to Twitter if I can't follow the people I want to follow? I mean, I currently am trying to use Gab a bit more, because Gab is very heavily invested in free speech. The guy who created it is a bit of a wacko, and it definitely has a lot of awful things posted on there, but that's freedom of speech, right? I can ignore it if I choose. But for the most part, a lot of the most interesting people are no longer on Twitter. While it's not clear why Musk changed his mind about joining the board, I just said why. Probably because he just wasn't able to do what he wanted to do. He doubled down on his vision on Twitter's role in society and what is needed to realize it. I invested in Twitter as I believe in its potential to be the platform for free speech around the globe, and I believe free speech is a societal imperative for a functioning democracy. I replace democracy with republic because I hate the term democracy. I hate the idea of democracy. I hate the idea that everyone votes. I hate the idea that everyone's vote counts the same as everyone else's. I do not like that system. I believe a republic is the best system, and I think limited voting is actually far superior than allowing everyone to vote. That's just my personal opinion. However, he's not wrong when he's talking about democracy. He's not wrong when he talks about freedom in general. Freedom of speech is very important to make sure we have a functioning society as a whole. If we can't talk to one another properly, we're never going to be able to fix any of the issues that we might have. It's going to bubble up inside of us and eventually explode, where we then have violence. And we don't want violence. We are against violence. I'm against violence heavily. I don't like violence at all. But we're getting closer and closer to that point when we're not allowed to speak freely. Once you start restricting people's freedom of speech, violence will occur. All right. The minute you start arresting people because of words, everyone has that line of when they say, I will rebel. For me, I will say the minute the government tries to arrest me for words I said is when I say, it's it's time for another revolution, maybe. I have to be careful about how I say it. Which is absurd. The fact that I say that, hey, if someone tries to violate certain inalienable rights is a time where I'll start fighting back. People need to start asking themselves that question too. When is that point where we decide to fight back? Because they're trying to push more and more and more for us to be more like these European countries that don't have basic freedoms. If what was happening in Australia happened here, you betcha there would be a lot more violence than there was in Australia, because we would not put up with that for at least a certain level. So we have to make sure we can speak freely. We have to make sure that we can move around freely. We have to make sure that we feel open to express our opinion in a constructive way. It's the only way for a society to continue to move forward, and it's the only way for us to really figure out what is true and what is false. Musk has described himself as a free speech absolutist. I love it. I absolutely love it. And has been critical of Twitter's rules about what people are allowed to say on the site. I don't like to lose, Musk said. But Twitter, which is much smaller than other social networks like Facebook and TikTok, I didn't realize it was so small compared to TikTok. Well, I guess that makes sense. Is also under pressure to grow its business. Changing its policies against content such as hate speech and false claims about COVID could be a turnoff for users and advertisers. Except in doing so, you're also getting rid of a bunch of viewers. It's a money-making platform where your ideas are amplified if they're going to help the company make money, said Karen Kornblad, the German Marshall Fund who studies online disinformation. A very direct way, it gets amplified if you're going to make the company money. Yeah, I guess that's kind of how it works. When you poll people, people say they want moderation. I don't care what they say. If people said, I don't want you to have the Second Amendment, well, screw you. I'm keeping my damn gun. That doesn't change anything. That's why we're not a democracy. Because democracy is mob rule. I don't care what the mob thinks. My rights are not up for a vote. All right? My rights are not up for a democratic process. My rights are my rights, and I will keep them. Thank you very much. So I don't care if the majority of people want moderation. However, here's the deal. When they say moderation, how does the poll say it or describe it? If they say keeping stuff that is illegal off of the platform, well, that's a different story. That's no longer speech, that's now action, right? If you post stuff that is harmful towards children, we'll say, you violated a law, and the possession of which is also a law, which means Twitter also has to clear their server of that information as well, which, mind you, they have not actually done. They have tons of child images all over Twitter, and they have not done a good enough job at getting rid of them. They do not care about that sort of stuff, but they do care, of course, if you say a man is a man and a woman is a woman. Anyway, when they say people want moderation, what do they really mean by moderation? If you ask me, should they be allowed to take some things off of the platform? Well, like I said, illegal content, yes. That is against the law. So yes, we can take that off the platform. So who knows what it means by when you say you poll people, because depending on how you ask the question will determine the outcome of that poll. If you say that, I'm going to say yes, there needs to be moderation. If you say opinion, I'm going to say never. So what does that poll really mean? It really doesn't mean anything at all. That they don't want conspiracy theories floating freely on their platform. They don't want harassment, she said. I think it's a misunderstanding of what the people want. Again, it's not about what the people want. It's about what is right at the end of the day. It's what is right at the end of the day. At a conference Thursday, Musk said that his interest in Twitter was not about economics or making money. Twitter has become a kind of de facto Times Square, he said. So it's really just important that people have both the reality and the perception that they're able to speak freely within the bounds of the law. Thank you, Elon. And there's a reason why a lot of people love Elon right here, right? And if the Twitter board rejects his offer, Musk said he has a plan B. I don't like to lose. Oh boy. I kind of hope they turn him down because I want to see that plan B. What do you think? Leave a comment below, of course. Do you want to see the plan B? Do you think he just it's good he buys it out, or should we be more excited to see what that plan B is? Because that could be also kind of funny. Oh boy, either way, I mean, a lot of information here. It's exciting. And we live in cool times. This crazy madman here who actually managed to popularize electric vehicles, who has gone to freaking space. He's sending people to freaking space. And now he might be the savior of free speech on online platforms. What a madman. I love it. I absolutely love it. And, you know, it could be the case where he lives long enough to become the villain. I hope he doesn't become the villain. But for right now, thank you, Elon. Just Godspeed, right? Godspeed. Thanks so much for watching that clip. If you want to watch the live show, it is Thursdays at 9 o'clock. Again, that is 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. But if you don't want to wait that long, we got some other awesome content out there. All you got to do is click on this video over to the right, and it will take you right on to the next one. Either way, thanks so much for watching, and we'll be talking again real soon.